when we started, which was 43 years ago now, it was not enough to be a reasonably good maker, designer maker in the middle of Wiltshire and not tell the world about it. The difficulty was always getting to the market. And the way we used to get to the market was we went to craft fairs. And there we mixed with many different skills, mostly about adorning people. So they'd be about jewellery and scarves and accessories, etc., wearable accessories, with occasional ceramics. And we always like a little adjunct on the end. And it was very flattering, and people would come by and say, lovely, lovely stuff. And then they would say things like, well, when I win the lottery, or when I move, or when my daughter marries. And they go next door and they buy themselves a sweater at £225, which, 30 years ago was quite a lot of dosh. And I noticed this lady next door was just whacking them into bags nearly all day long. And I realised, look, I need to design some small objects that people could fall in love with, that would fill the gaps whilst they waited to make the more measured decision to buy the bigger stuff. So we needed sprats, if you like, to catch mackerels. And they needed to be interesting, they needed to be inspirational, and they needed to represent our house style. They needed to have something that was desirable about them so people would spontaneously fall in love with them. And we designed a number of small things in response to this. And one of the things I went for was a tray. I didn't want any old tray. I wanted a tray that perhaps people could have their dinner around, a TV dinner or whatever. Not that anybody admitted to them in those days, but. So I thought, okay, I'll design a lap tray. And I wasn't quite sure how I'd do it, but I thought I might do it just by going to the timber stack and pulling out any old ordinary bits and pieces of timber. I didn't know I wanted to make the handles out of soft sycamore because I found that sensual, etc. But the body, I'd get anything I could get. So what I did was this. I decided to design a shape that was, sorry, the specs I needed for this, snugged around the body in the form of a lap tray. So that shape snugged around the body. We needed a lipping on it, and we bent a little piece of wood round and upstand, front and back, to stop stuff falling off. The grain, by the way, was going this way. And then we designed a handle, at least I designed a handle, and I wanted it a bit quirky. So it was a bit of a spiky thing, like this. And this was held on with rose-headed nails originally. But it was a sensual shape, it allowed you to hold the tray. But it was a little bit wide, if I'm honest. And this was a little bit aggressive because it was a bit spiky. And it used to get stuck indoors and used to prick people with it. But hey, people loved it. And we sold it, I think it was about £65, something like that. And it just flew off the shelves. And it was lovely, but as a designer, I was dissatisfied with it. I was dissatisfied with it because of its width, because of the aggression, and also because these handles were symmetrical. The weight, because it was a laptop tray and had more weight at the front, a bit like me, I'm afraid, the tray used to fall forward. So tray number 1 was designated to the archive, and lapped tray 2 was designed. Same shape, a little bit narrower, and this, the lipping was incorporated within it, front and back. The grain went this way because we were using offcuts of various bits and pieces that we made. We had lots of offcuts. We stuck them together so that we were making economic use and responsible use of something that would otherwise end up as firewood. And then I addressed the problem of the balance by making a handle where the weight and the curve was further forward. So when you lifted it, we got the balance of the tray and it didn't tip forward. And this was a lovely tray, but it took, actually, for all its worthy intentions of using offcuts for ecological reasons, etc., and responsible use of material reasons, it was a time-consuming process. These lippings, front and back, had to be cut out using a computer-controlled router at 75 pounds a minute. And also, it was a bit irresponsible with materials because you're losing 2/3 of the material, even though it was made from offcuts. You were routing out all this material. So, and it's sold for somewhere in the region of £200, £225. So very much more expensive, but it still flew out the door, God bless it. We could not make them quickly enough. But these are little bits and pieces that we're making between our main larger pieces of furniture. So it was very difficult to keep up with it and to find time to make it. So it's time for tray number 3. Tray number 2 probably goes into the archive as well. And now, as of this very minute, we are making tray number 3. Same width, because it goes through doors nicely. We're taking this element and we're inlaying a little upstand here and an upstand here. We're going to make it from 4 bits of wood because that's more economic, and we don't have to route it out because we will make it from thinner material. We always make it from English woods, local sycamore handles perhaps, local sweet chestnut, local ash or oak, anything that doesn't have to travel too far. To it we'll add the same kind of handle. So the handle, being a complex bit of sculpting work, we'll still do that on a computer controlled router, but the rest we'll do in-house. And tray number 3 will be, I guess, maybe 300, just under. I think we'll kind of less than £300. And we'll make them in batches of 40, and hopefully people will take glorious possession of them. And we'll design them in such a way that they will be practical in their use, so you can wipe out material here, because here these used to get really grubby and you'd get little bits of gunge forming in the corners. And here you can get a cloth and there's just enough space between the lipping and the handle. Whereas here you see, oh, it gets grubby in here. The balance is right, the width is right. The method of construction, I don't see it as being correct. And the little shirt tail hanging out the suitcase. So tray number 3, I hope we've resolved the issues of the being able to keep it clean, the balance is correct, the shape is correct. It's over to you to see if the price is correct. And it'll be built from local timbers, and it's taking place right at this very minute in the workshop. So here we are with tray 1. Tray 1 demonstrates a number of things. 1, whoops, balance not quite right. 2, look at. 3, banged into the door. Uh-oh. But quite a nice shape. Bent piece of material, so when you wash it, you can still get all the gunge through here. This one snapped off. So we decided to change it. Now, we're using the best of this and the best of number 2. So here we have the tray body, made from 4 bits of wood. So that's a blank that Justin, who's having his coffee at the moment, has made. It's been grooved, ready for the upstands. The upstands have been laminated and will be shaped subsequently, but they will slip in there beautifully and stop things falling off it. The handles will be machined and applied, and we will have tray number 3, which you can see here. So these are the laminations where we've machined 3 bits of wood, glued them together to get the shape that we want and the strength that we want, so that this doesn't happen. So we've evolved into a stronger, and I hope more beautiful piece of desirable small. And Justin has, you see over there, a stack of tray bodies that Justin has machined up. And if you look at the end grain of them, you can see that they are made from, probably can't see the join, but there's 1, 2, 3 bits of wood. So in this case, they're slightly bigger than they require because we've got holes where we've attached it to the jig we've made. And we will do it out of oak, we'll do it out of chestnut, and we might do it out of ash or any material. So it's quite interesting to see here, the chestnut has got a greater variety in it. And in this case, we've been lucky, and then we've hit a bit of ripple. Ripple's interesting. Ripple is caused by incorrect coding on the gene responsible for the growth-promoting auxin. We have our hormones, plants have its auxins. And in this case, the gene responsible for that growth-promoting auxin has gone awry. So instead of growing straight, it's growing crooked. It recognizes it and it comes back. So this tree actually grows, you can see it very closely on the edge here. You can see it's growing in this ripple. You can actually see the edge there. And that's what's causing this lovely rippled refraction. And when that's polished, that'll shimmer at you. It's a maverick again. It's a wrong 'un. And there's nothing I like better than a wrong 'un.